Hey, what's up? We got a lot of comments and questions on our last bardominium build, so I figured we'd post our latest build. This one's a bit different as it utilizes a post frame building or pole barn, which is a purely wood building, which is increasing in popularity down south. In this video, I'll try to do a little bit better job at describing what's going on instead of just letting you watch time lapse for 20 minutes. So let's get to it. Don't forget to let me know in the comments if you have any additional questions or you want to see different content for this build specifically. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is mark the floor plan out on your slab. As you'll see, you need to leave a little bit of room for flexibility here in your floor plan because it's very likely that the finished building dimension is not exactly what you expected, or it may have slightly shifted, or some of the plumbing may have moved, so just leave a little bit of flexibility in some of your room dimensions so that you can make that happen without cramming yourself into too small of a space. So as you can see, we're just measuring the space we plan to build in and then going over to the PC to make some adjustments. In the end, we only had to move the wall about a ½ inch to make everything work with no disruption. So once you get the floor plan finalized, the next step is to actually begin marking this on the floor plan. If you don't do this, it's going to be very difficult. And if you mark out all your walls, windows, and doors on the floor plan, then all you need to do is set the top and bottom plates on the floor, mark out the openings, intersections, and really you don't need to think at that point. You just need to work through it and you won't have any errors. So just take your time when going through the step. I find myself getting anxious at times and just wanting to start cutting lumber, but take your time in the step and you'll get it right. It's well worth the time and effort. I've done this quite a few times with buildings this size. They generally take me about 4 to 6 hours to adjust and lay out properly. During the process, you may feel like it's wasted time, but trust me, it's a step you need to take to ensure you don't have any headaches down the road. If this is your first build, I would totally budget at least, and when I say at least, maybe two, but at least one full day for this step. Just don't rush it. So once you get your floor plan marked out on the slab, um, you can just start cutting lumber. This is where the fun begins. You just start throwing up walls, and there's not a whole lot of thinking to be done here. You already did all that, and you mark everything out accordingly. So you start out by just moving your plates into place, moving enough studs to build one wall at a time. One thing I try to do is keep my work area as clutter-free as possible. So if you load up your area with too many studs, then you'll be moving the material more than once to build the next wall. So for this build, we're just doing everything 16-inch on center spacing. You could do 16 and 24-inch and a mix of both, but really the savings in studs is minimal, so we just go ahead and do 16-inch all the way around. Yes, that's even with today's insane lumber prices. It's not worth the headache and the hassle, so we just stick to 16 on center everywhere. So first you're going to cut your top and bottom plates to length using the floor plan you marked out on the floor. Keep in mind that these top and bottom plate stocks generally aren't the same length. Like top plate is, you can get up to 20 foot long, and bottom plate's usually like 14 foot for the treated bottom plate that we're using here. Whenever you lay these out, you'll have to stagger the joints because for a longer wall, you're obviously not going to have a piece long enough to span the entire distance. So just make sure you stagger the joints in the top and bottom plates by at least 2 feet. And don't worry, your upper top plate will span across these gaps, keeping your walls together, so you can temporarily brace them if you needed. So as you can see here, I'm marking up my layout on the plates. After I mark out all the intersections, openings, doors, and windows, I go back and mark my plate every 16 inches for studs. Remember, if you set yourself up right, you'll have to do very little thinking at this stage. You just start doing. So this minimizes errors and keeps everything running efficiently. It's really as simple as just looking at the markings you made on the floor. If you see an intersection, add 3 studs. If you see a door opening, add a jack stud, king studs, and a header. If you don't see any of the above, just mark it out every 16 inches and move on. So once you're done with all your markings, you move your top plate to the top of the studs and the bottom plate, leave it on the bottom. Make sure to keep in the same orientation so you don't flip off all your studs and end up with a crooked wall. So the last step before driving any nails is installing a sill sealer if necessary. So here we just use foam that keeps drafts and bugs out. Nothing fancy. Some people use caulk, some people don't use anything, and then they come back and caulk it later. So finally, you just start laying out your studs and start nailing. We use a framing nailer because we have one, but you could just as easily use a hammer and nails. Install 2 nails on each stud, top and bottom. It helps to have 2 people for this step, one lining up the studs to your markings and the other shooting the nails. Now you just get to repeat this process all the way around the exterior and interior of your home.
That way we can get yeah. That's the one that's heavy. Alright, so we'll stand it up.
I guess that pipe doesn't matter.
Well, I may try to get it. We'll stand it up and then we'll shoot to just push it in that corner, and then we'll drag this wall or this side later. Ready? Yep. 1, 2, 3. Oh man. It's that transition. Yep, you good? Good. Alright. So let's see if we can. I'll push and you kind of push and drag into the corner. Ready? Yep. 1, 2, 3.
Curl up. I guess here it really doesn't matter.
No, it's under the door. We can pick it up in a second and fix it. Let's just get it to where it needs to be. Yep.
Yeah, I got like 2 minutes.
Alright, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Alright, come over here in the middle. It's going to take a few back and forth. Right? So we'll get these 2 plates. Let me move down so we don't drag this piece. Alright, we'll just do a couple, 2 or 3 swings. Don't try to go the whole way in one shot. Ready? One more.
On these larger walls, it's good to make some sort of additional bracing to keep them up in place until you finalize the framing. A simple square brace out of 2 studs is enough to keep this wall from shifting on us when used in addition to nailing all the connections in the other walls.
Just still be careful.
Yeah.
So on our window openings, we used the building 2x6 window supports as our jack studs. So we cut them off flush with the top of the window and then installed our header. We did a 3-piece header here, 1 2x6 flat to seal up the window and give backing for drywall, and then 2 2x6s on end to support the load from overhead. In order to maximize our usable space in this build, we put the walls within the 6x6 posts, keeping the faces flush. So that means it's slow progress building little bitty sections of walls all the way around, but it's well worth the effort for the added space. So now all our wall framing is complete. We need to connect all the walls to the slab. To do this, I use a 22 caliber ramset nailer. Make sure to wear eye protection when using this and connect your walls every 4 foot. If these walls were actually holding the exterior structure, you would need to connect them with a true anchor that can resist uplift forces. But in our scenario, because we only need lateral support to keep these walls from shifting within the building, we can use this style of ramset fastening. So once all your walls are anchored, you just need to work on installing your upper top plate. So when you install your upper top plate, you just need to ensure that the intersecting walls overlap so that they actually tie together at the top. So next you mark out your ceiling joist locations on the top plates. Mark them out on all your exterior walls, and in our case also the intersecting wall where the two joists will overlap. Again, here we're using 16 inches on center. Once your layout is done, you can again begin moving lumber. Move lumber in position and then push it into place, and always make sure to put the crown up on the lumber. So here at the end we had to build a header to span the distance above the mudroom since there wasn't a wall to support our joists. The alternative option would be to oversize the joist here, but just to keep things simple we went ahead and just built this header. So because this was only 12 foot of unsupported span and only a 5-foot header, we were able to get away with 3 2x6s, but always refer to the international and local building codes to ensure you're building an adequate brace here. So also note that anywhere a joist runs parallel above a wall, lay it flat so that you can use it as a place to back your drywall. If the wall does not lie on your layout, just add an additional joist flat so your drywall guys don't hate you later. So at this phase, you're ready for your electrical and plumbing, insulation, and then drywall. So I'll end this video here, but look out for future videos where we may cover some of these steps. This build was for family, so we did all these steps ourselves. Um, but just to keep things not getting too long, we're going to stop this video here and we can move on to an electrical, plumbing, drywall video later. All right, well that about wraps up the framing. I know this is a quick video, but if you have any questions or need some more detail, just definitely shoot us a message down in the comments below and we'll put together our next few videos accordingly.